Okay, we have begun recording, and this is Andrew Williams Jr., and I'm pleased and welcome Mufaddal Mirza here. This is a multiple exposure this morning. I'm Andrew Williams Jr. I'm the hosting this conversation with Andrew Williams Jr. and Mufaddal Mirza on today, Global Cooperation Day, and it's to introduce his project, the Wheel of Life Farm School. But I want to also take this opportunity to share with you our shared communication through an organization called We the World and also Energime University. It is, in fact, today Global Cooperation Day. So we're happy to share with you the ideals that Liz Greenwell inspired all those many years ago when she came up with the idea of us having a Global Cooperation Day. So here we are, Mufaddal. I'm just gonna turn it over to you. I'm here as your moderator, so just allow me to assist you in any way, but the floor is yours, sir. Thank you for having us here.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and blessed Sunday and the Cooperation Day to everyone, basically all the residents of our planet. And we would like to delight basically everyone because through our, initiative of providing affordable, climate-smart food to all the families. So we can all sort of come out of COVID-19 comfortably and then hopefully enjoy a COVID-19 free 2021. So the model which we have developed, say, in last about 53 months or so, working with Energime University, working with the professors there, and two of the gentlemen whom I've been working with is Dr. Paul Olivier and Ken Telford. Dr. Paul Olivier is the inventor of the Wheel of Life Farm, and Ken Telford is the inventor of Auto Intelligent Building System. And when I look at Richard Nelson's innovation, I believe that it adds value, both of those inventions, which was done by Dr. Olivier and Ken Telford. So now what we want to do is this: come up with a plan today to make sure that we realize this objective with agility, because the need is there. Immediately the needs are there to really provide immunity boosting food to all. And in order to do that, we need a team, basically. And the concept is this now, which was developed by Heidi Littleboss, that we actually enable mothers of our world, okay, because mother is a maintainer of a family, and we enable them to become teachers, and then they will teach in these Wheel of Life Farm schools, which we will be building in global farms. So now the way to proceed forward on this particular project is this, that through the foundation which Andrew has, we will be now adopting public universities. Public universities are always in needs of, support and funds. So the infrastructure is already present over there. We set up our climate smart entrepreneurship department in those universities, and then, launch our global executive MBA program, which our foundation will sponsor. If you look at the competing program of entrepreneurship, for a master's degree, it's something like $8,000+ in USA to acquire a degree like this. So what we say is this, that, okay, you start this program, at about 10% of the cost, start with $5,300 only, and then that fund which gets accumulated from this $5,300 per student actually is utilized to build this campus right in the university, because the university needs family housing, university needs food. So these things are needed already in a university campus. So we provide them with the climate smart food to all the students and the faculty. And then once they build these communities in a university campus, then according to our localization concept, you know, the local human asset will be developed. They will be trained in our technologies, and then they will go out, you know, in local farms, and, you know, we'll form the partnership with the farms and duplicate these schools, you know, over there, so that our climate smart agricultural technologies and the current best system which we can provide them gets integrated into those farms. In that way, we will be able to, you know, inshallah, hopefully make our planet GMO free, which is a huge issue in our, you know, food value chain. So we want to really silently do this project, okay, that we are here to help everybody out. We want to adopt universities, public universities in trouble. Okay, so we enter into a university campus, and in a university campus, you know, there are no constraints basically. We can go ahead and do all the research and development, and, you know, we'll consider this project as an R&D project, and we will develop these, you know, campuses so everybody can, you know, learn from it, witness it, experience it, and then automatically this will sort of spread, you know, like wildfire, because, you know, anything which is good for everybody, it is appreciated by everyone, and everybody would like to adopt, you know, these models. So that is a brief summary. Currently, we have selected sites like Houston, Texas, Toronto, Dubai, Karachi, where I'm located in, and Mumbai. You know, these are the cities which we have selected, whereby we will be setting up these campuses, you know, in a university campus, and then move forward. And Louis, I think Colonel Louis probably wants to do this in Puerto Rico also. So we set up and, you know, create a model in South America in a local university there. So this is an open invitation to everybody, whoever can bring in a university campus. We will launch a global executive MBA over there, enroll the students. Those students will be working on this particular project of building these Wheel of Life farm schools. And our you know, inventors, Richard Nelson, Paul Olivier, and Kane, would love to really you know, use a local environment and design the system. And then, you know, gentlemen like Michael can, you know, integrate agile engineering technologies, you know, industrial IoT, to make sure that we actually can execute, you know, these projects with agility, utilizing the current best, you know, high-speed technology systems. And all of this thing is very, very doable in a university campus. So that is my introduction to the whole program in a nutshell. I would welcome all the, you know, positive, negative comments, critiques, to make sure that we come up with a working plan. The floor is back to you, Andrew. So, you know, everybody is welcome to, you know, provide the input on the proposal which I just mentioned.
Well, thank you so very much. And I do see Lloyd Helferty is joining us now. I've extended this invitation to others in our group members, but as Mufaddal said, I'm willing to represent the Edfu Foundation. I put the link into the chat there. Part of the incentive I have is because I've been asked personally to provide a fiscal agency to handle our interaction here in the United States, the Housing Urban Development Department, that I believe will also provide a guidance for us here. So in this capacity, I'm simply functioning as a strategic alliance coordinator. I'm happy to assist in coordinating this for the rest of the year and thereafter. So I'll in turn ask each of you to raise your hand and or do a brief introduction of yourself if you so choose. Perhaps we could start with you, Richard Nelson, because it does seem, in fact, that SolaRoof and your technologies is at the heart of a continuing process that's been going on for many years. So, Richard Nelson, could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Yes, it's very exciting. And I think we can look forward to action on our plans, you know, long-held plans, very strong and mature team, I think capable of responding to a global emergency, which we are in the midst of. And we know also that concurrently with climate emergency and pandemic emergency, we are going to continue to have escalating other crises on top of those crises. So the concern ultimately is, you know, that these become overwhelming. So yeah, our purpose is to bring a technology, an innovation, and what it is focused on a method for growing food in a controlled environment. So when we simplify and when we have innovations that reduce the energy cost, then this becomes accessible for everyone. We're focused right now on the food, not so much the human habitat, which is up on the screen right now. If you want to go down the page there, I think we'll see some other some illustrations. But the purpose will be to create accessible environments for growing food, and here's the Creative Commons mentioned there. That's important. So we need to do this by way of well, the smallest. This would be the smallest version for the backyard, and then there's additionally larger structures as we look at the community level. So small for communities, farmers, you know, farmers that are family farmers, and then of course the industrial scale type of projects as well, because we do have the urban requirement for food for billions of people, really, billions of people who have insecure food. Let's stay at that one for a minute. So this is actually about the size for a community project. And as you see, it's a dome-like structure. It's built in metal and with you know, metal structural system. This one is showing 2 levels. It could actually be fitted for 3 levels at this size. It could be a 3-level building. And what we do is on the ground level, we have the fish production. So this is an aquaponics, which means fish plus plants. So the fish are below and the plants are above. And it is quite that simple. And within the environment interior, we have a climate control processes which regulate the temperature, the humidity, and can protect the crop in any climate, whether it's very cold or very hot. And we've had projects in tropical heat of Malaysia and also to the north, like Norway. So the technology has been under development for 40 years. So it is mature technology, fortunately, right? We're not at the beginning of this. We're at a point where we can launch projects. So the key is to launch simultaneously several of this scale, which we call Octa3. It is an octagonal dome, and it has 3 levels, typically, and so called Octa3. So it is a very nice scale for community projects, especially for schools. And as was being discussed here, that most often we all recognize that there's an educational component, which is, you could say, also a teaching or learning, a learning component, which goes with innovation, and that schools are a wonderful environment and young people are open to the future, looking to build a future. So here we have an example, and you know, it's certainly one among many of innovations that are ready to build a much better future than what we have seen. And it's a new relationship with food and also a new relationship with nature one which is not destructive, one which is very harmonious. So maybe if that's an outline. Yeah, the labeling.
Richard, just a quick question. What will be the budget, say, for 110 of these Octa 6 structure? That's one question. And the follow-up question is that if you want to, in a constrained areas, say in a university campus, if you want to go vertically up, what will be the maximum utilization of space we can do, the required space to build this 110 home structure?
Yeah, certainly. So these are tent-like structures, and they are a breakthrough in the capital cost. The one that we were just looking at, the label down below said Octa 6, but it was not the Octa 6, okay? It was the Octa 3 that we were looking at, as I mentioned. So just in terms of the scale, looking at that scale, as you could see, it had 2 levels, but it could fit 3 levels. The Octa 6 has 6 levels, so it's considerably bigger project. And because it's the square, the volume is the what is it, the cube, not the square, but the cube, right, of the structure. Because as it gets big, right, it gets a lot more area, a lot more productivity inside. So that unit has about 100 square meters, we'd say 1,000 square feet of production, and we can get that structure, I would say, delivered anywhere in the world for about $25,000. It has 1,000 square feet, and it's able to produce food, and it is climate controlled, right? It's not just the structure, but it is the working systems that do the climate control. It is a solar design. In other words, it captures heat energy. It stores the heat energy it uses in cold climate. You have that heat available at night. And then in the hot climate, it can dissipate the heat. So we can regulate the climate and the humidity in any place in the world, right? And we can do that effectively off grid, because the energy requirement of those processes are so low. And when we're growing all that, biomass and food, right? It's food. Well, I say there's 4 types, right? It's food, feed for other animals. It's called human beings animals, but you know what I mean. We're in the animal kingdom as far as our biology goes. So we have food for people, feed for animals, fiber, and fuel crops. Those are the 4 principal categories that we can grow. So crops, we can use the root, the tuber, the stem, the leaf, the blossom, the fruit, everything, right? we have the 5 kingdoms also, 5 kingdoms of life, right? Which is that we'll have algae, we'll have the plants, we'll have animals, we'll have the fungi with mushrooms, which is a different kingdom of life as well, and of course the bacteria. The bacteria and the fungi are the family of the kingdom of life that recycle, right? They recycle. The plant kingdom, of course, is producing our oxygen, consuming carbon dioxide, as do the algae. Yes, the algae. But the algae kingdom specialize in nitrogen fixation. The algae are able to break the nitrogen bond. The plant do not do that. Bacteria close to roots of plants, like the legume, will do that, creating nitrogen, creating the proteins, right? All the RNA, DNA, the amino acids, which form those materials, which are the code of life, right? The intelligence of life in the cell. And so we need the algae, because with the algae, we do not need fertilizers, synthetic fertilizers. At this time, for the entire global production of food, 70% of our food at least is dependent, totally dependent on our petrochemical resources. And those will be depleted beyond the cost, that they will become inaccessible in cost even within 10 to 20 years. So therefore, because we have this focus on, as you said also, you have GMO, you have the corruption of our food system by experimental, manipulations, which no one knows the consequences of doing these things in terms of the circle of life, and because once we start to tamper with the code of life, these code changes, right, are propagated into life. From there, it becomes a contamination, and it's out of control. So we have all of these crises. Right? So why are people sick? We have two cases. We have a billion people at least, probably another couple billion, a billion who do not have enough food, and then another billion who have food that is deficient, and it's GMO food. And these are the communities of the world that are on aid programs, really, and if not for the advanced, so-called advanced countries, providing them this food, right, they would also be in the category of those who don't have enough food. Then you have another, 3 or 4 billion people who have enough food, but the problem is the food is killing them.
Exactly.
The food they're getting is killing them, right? So we have all kinds of dysfunction now. You can see it in the world. We have hormonal dysfunction. We have populations of life, like the aquatic life and the frogs and many of those, who are not multiplying because they've been sterile, and human beings are becoming sterile, and our hormonal function is disrupted. So it means all of the growth of children and their development and their brain development is disrupted because there's not enough nutrients in our food. So you cannot simply give people flour and expect that they have a life. It's like raising a child on sugar, and we're just about sugar, It's calories, but it's actually poison to our system. Those calories are addictive poisons that we've allowed to come into our food system. And the same thing with flour, all of our processed food, everything from grain. Now, people don't understand typically because they don't understand food very well, but we could say something to know, is that all of our grain are amino acid deficient. We die if we just eat grain, for sure, right? And yet people are put on a flour diet because it's all they have, and in the famine. And yes, they will in any case die when that's what we can do. So we must be able to bring real food to people. And what we know now, and we learned this, I was talking with the Colonel earlier this morning, we're talking about the space program and how if we send astronauts to the moon or Mars, and we cannot do the resupply, we can't just constantly push consumable food, right? That they will consume and then it's waste, and that's it, they have to keep supplying. Well, this kind of, this is not life support, right? This is not true life support, because sooner or later, our ability to do this is exhausted. We're exhausting the whole system when we operate this way. So we have, of course, to do the wheel of life. That's why you call it wheel of life farm. Yes, I love it. So, in the wheel of life farm, well, we need the sunlight. So we have a transparent structure. For people to live, yes, they can live in domes, they can live in homes. We can have all kinds of wonderful construction. We have people just on this call that know about construction of all kind of advanced, and we can use the hemp plant. We can build our homes from bamboo structurally. We can do all kinds of regenerative building systems. I also believe that we need to wisely use metals, metals in our construction. So that includes steel and aluminum. There are very good reasons for that. We can go into that. And, in many ways, these kind of products, they will uplift everyone. Just as we need to build an aircraft out of aluminum to fly, and to go so high and to do so much. So our homes too have to become 21st century and advanced, but we can still, you know, incorporate all of these living systems and much of those materials that come from life itself. But we need to have this end the battle, you know, where technology is killing. So we look at technology and agriculture as like the plow. You know, the plow is battling with nature. We don't need to do that anymore. We don't need to do it. I can tell you, without a plow and without any toxin, without any inputs of artificial fertilizers or you know, pesticide, herbicide, anything to fight with nature, that we can grow 20 to 40 pounds of food per square foot per year. That's the stems and the plant and the flowers and the fruits, and all of this beautiful food that we can eat. And that is our Paleolithic diet, right? Before grain, before our economy of a warfare economy that we've seen since civilization, right? Which was always focused on grain. So again, there's a story. Why is it focused on grain? And what's the story behind that? I don't know. We probably don't have time this session. And I've spoken long enough now. I know that. I'm sorry. I get going and someone has to say, Richard, okay.
Well,
Richard,
fascinated.
one more input, Richard, that we want to incorporate and save honeybees, you know, which is the population is declining. So we want to make sure that we provide a good home to all the honeybees by integrating them into our structure here in this Wheel of Life farm.
We welcome them right inside the structure, you know.
Exactly.
Because they're not harmful. You know?
Right.
Well,
now the other question I have is this. So we conclude this. People are used to living in, you know, high rises, tallest buildings, you know, and Dubai is building a lot of them, and you know, people are used to, you know, going up into the sky and live up there, you know, in the higher ends. So I was just thinking that in order to say make 1,000 square feet sort of homes in these, you know, vertically skyscrapers, they call it, and we use say Kane's, you know, buildings. I mean the bricks, etc., which is making from plastic and waste, and then that brick actually supports the whole building, and around it we actually have a transparent, you know, model which you have developed. So we need to look into this, that in a constrained area, in a popular situation, like they say, okay, we would like to live in a skyscraper. So well, can we say build?
Let me comment on that, because again, that is a kind of an assumption that we have, and it's in our educational system, and it's in our conditioning, that there's not enough space in this world, that there's not room for everyone. And I can tell you, there's plenty of room for everyone. We are not overpopulated in this world, okay? What we have is a way in which we're living, which is impoverishing everyone. So, and part of that is that when you look out around us, what have we done to our environment? We've destroyed it. I live in Canada. There's huge areas, you know, of just empty land. And what have we done? We've deforested all of that land, not once, many times. We've cut it down. We cut it down. And what is growing back is not the wildness. It's not the diversity. It's not, we haven't nurtured it back into health. Yeah, we have killed and then, you know, purposefully, I would say in many ways, kept that system from recovering. Certainly we have not been helping it. So we have also the situation in the Amazon. It's the same thing. Okay, so you have the sword and the axe and the plow. They are all destructive, and their purpose is to diminish life. Diminish life. When you diminish all the life around you, suddenly you find you're poor. That's how we get poor.
Exactly.
So now we live together in our poverty, and out there is a wasteland. It's a wasteland of our creation.
If I may, Mufaddal, I'd like to now introduce Mr. Zang. Aubrey, if you're there, I put on the screen your Pyrapod, but in the comments, you mentioned that we need to change our way of life. So could you please introduce yourself, Aubrey? And thank you so very much.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep. Yes.
Good, good. Because this is actually my second time using Zoom, so I'm not quite familiar with this. Because I hate meeting. You know, I was from China. You know, we got a lot of meetings. You know, I like to do things. So when I learned about SolaRoof, you know, and then yeah, that. I want to do it, right? I want to don't talk about it, right? I want to use it. We have been, you know, waiting for so long for this. You know, this is so genius. And we're learning from the nature, right? We have the real version right above our head, you know, the atmosphere. So anyway, so this time when I approached Richard, you know, I said, could we make the smallest version, you know, smallest form of you know, SolaRoof. So quickly, you know, just within a few minutes, we came up with the idea, you know, Pyrapod, right? So basically, it's smaller than octagon, you know, with basically 4 sides. You know, basically it's a pyramid, right? But as you know, there's some curvature. So this website actually was built, you know, only you know, a week ago. You know, just everything's fast. So once I know that what we need to do, then I want to act fast, right? So this is the website. I put up, you know, basically add a lot of stuff, videos. You know, right now I'm doing both things. You know, one, they help with the developing the Pyrapod, the first prototype. On the same time, I'm going to convert I have a you know, existing conventional greenhouse. I'm going to convert it into the SolaRoof based, you know, greenhouse. So yeah. Anyway, so like to hear that more people get interested in this, and I think this is the only thing we need to focus on. You know, once we change the way we build structure, you know, and then we're going to change everything. So this is I call the radical change. Otherwise, nothing will happen because it's so easy. People stay with their, you know, a comfortable zone, you know, rather, you know, status quo, right? So, and it's, and everything forces us to do this change, you know, otherwise a lot of things will happen and we cannot handle it, you know. So anyway, so glad to join this. Thank Richard for inviting me, and yeah, I'll keep updating. You know, basically I'm the the doer, right? I don't want to talk too much. I want to do it, right? You know, if this is real, use right away. No, I don't want to wait for others. You know, want to buy from other manufacturer, right? I'm going to use it myself. You know, DIY. So. I'm glad that Richard is willing to help me to do this and all other things. So I'm so happy. So thank you.
Thank you.
Aubrey, can you identify 2 universities, you know, one in British Columbia and one in China, where we can launch our Gemba program and, you know, start building this community?
Oh yeah, well, for sure. It's by the way, I just tell you that the China already, you know, China is famous for, you know, for copycat, right? They copy everything, right?
I mean,
so,
that's good.
You know, actually, I know a person in China. He copied everything that you know, Richard Nelson is doing. You know, exactly the same thing.
Exactly.
And but just they use you know, they call the bird's nest. You know, another structure, right? But it's just the technology is the same. They copied, I think, starting from 2011, right, if I remember correctly, you know. But for some reason, still not spreading everywhere, you know. Because what? They didn't do the proper way,
exactly.
right? we have the inventor here, and he's been doing this for 40 years, right? And I can understand that. I want to do the same. Oh, I can do it myself, right? But no, this is it's a collective, collective thing. We got to do it together. If it's truly, good for humanity, we're gonna do it together.
So Aubrey, we are actually eliminating that habit of copying, which people, go through a lot of efforts of copying it and not doing it well. We are simply providing them, so that they can now, they don't worry about copying, everything is available. They just duplicate and, make sure that the, farms of China becomes GMO free, and everybody starts enjoying a good quality life.
Mufaddal, there were a couple of people that had their hands raised. Louis Cruz Diaz was first. So Louis, could you unmute yourself, please? And then Michael Rendler.
Yes, definitely. And Aubrey, that project, basically, we have 3 engineer graduates, and which are working right now in NASA Space Center, in different universities in California, Berkeley, for example, where this project could be developed, as Mufaddal has indicated, as a training and teaching program. So yes, definitely Puerto Rico has various universities that can offer that space. With Richard's technology and Aubrey, basically we can develop a lot of those projects around Puerto Rico.
Wonderful.
I think you're muted, Andrew. I think we're muted.
Oh, you're right. No, please go right ahead, Michael.
Oh, no, I just want to put out there that there's a long path between a concept rendering and a concept and something that's in production. And this path involves a whole bunch of different agencies that give approval. And I've had this conversation with Richard before about what it means to get an environment online in a space where you put students. And there's just so many bureaucracies involved in that process compared to putting something in your backyard as a do-it-yourself effort. And so I think as an advisory team called C4, we really need to map out what that looks like, because I think it's a disservice to show someone a concept and then say we can bring it online rapidly. And it's not that conceptually it can't be done rapidly, it's that the system as exists has many check the box people that allow or don't allow this level of innovation to happen. And so I really think if you don't start with a good idea, and I think the idea is really solid, then what's the point of going through the process? And I think that's what we're kind of up against here, is that we don't start with a good idea and we're involved in a lot of processes. And so I just want to put it out there that we have to be diligent and realistic, because I personally don't think $25,000 means the same thing in India that $25,000 means in Los Angeles. And I think the nature system that Richard's talking about has a whole, what's called a regional quality, because this solar diagram that Richard is showing has a regional behavior. And if you look at weather maps, so the energy density of the sun in Saskatchewan is so completely different than the energy density in Arizona, that operating a structure like that as a system is going to have different results, and it's going to require a different methodology of operation. And so this is in this process of going from what's called the concept through a case study, and then be able to say, these are all the branches. I know that Richard has run this through his own internal intelligence as an algorithm, but in terms of bringing it online, there's another piece to this that has to do with the agencies that control what gets made and put on campuses.
I'm so glad you
So
brought
that's
that.
my comments. I want to put that out there because I think that that's the due diligence of a group like this that we need to pay attention to.
I agree completely, Michael, and I thank you so much for bringing to the table, or bringing to the forefront, why what Mufaddal is bringing to the table, as I understand it, is already pre-approved land and space in Pakistan that I understand the government is saying, please do something with this. But the challenges that you mentioned, Michael, I think they have to be quantified for each of the specific areas and sites that any of these models are to be developed upon. And Michael, that's really why I'm looking out to the E7 Architectural Studios to be able to deliver that solution as we move forward. But Mufaddal, am I clear in understanding that you have space and time and ready to move forward?
Yeah, I just want to make a clarification that the local jurisdiction has different people that are grafting into this conversation. Okay, so if you want to put a road in Africa, there's a whole different set of processes. Or if you want to put a road in Puerto Rico, or you want to put a road in Mexico, if you want to put a road in California, okay, Caltrans has really specific methodologies for me to put that road in. And this is no different. I just really want to make that crystal clear that this is really no different. If I want to run a car in Egypt, or I want to run a car in Africa, it's going to be very different than running a car in Dubai, even though the engineering problem may seem very similar. And a good example of this is what happened with Volkswagen and the California Air Resource Board, and looking at how their performance actually worked. And so these things are legitimate for Title 24. What that really means in California is in Title 24 what it means in India. And so if this is going to be a team that's going to address some of this, then we need to be legitimate about how we do that.
Hey, Michael, let me give you some feedback on that, though, okay? Because we need people here to be orientated as to where is SolaRoof at. I have been building these projects around the world for 40 years. I started in the 80s. I built my own custom research center in '84, and it was approved. It went under authorities, architects, engineers, constructed, operated. We built 6,000 square feet at the end of the 80s at McGill University on the campus, no problem. We built 12,000 square feet in the mid-90s out in Alberta. Right now there's 15,000 square feet by the city of Oslo in Norway. There's 8,000 square feet in the UK. I've left a trail of projects around the world, and there's yet, and there is one project in USA, one, okay, out of 40 years. And that's in Fairfield, Iowa, about 4,000 square feet at a university campus, MUM, it's a private university. So permits are, yes, each time it's an effort, but you know, these are under a category, let's say, of agricultural structure, greenhouse. These were all of these were greenhouse projects, not habitat, you know, they weren't commercial buildings or so. But you know, fabric buildings are well established in the commercial industry. You know, all the way from stadiums to airports to smaller structures and fabric components of structures. So that's what we're using, right? We're using very much a conventional structural know-how. We have corporations, you know, on the team with their materials technology know-how, aluminum, you know, with Norsk Hydro, fully committed to.
I don't want to be misunderstood that I'm saying it's not possible to build these. We just built the sci-fi stadium by the Rams. It cost $2 billion. It has a transparent roof that opens up. Anything can be constructed. I'm with you 100% on that. And many things have been constructed. And I know about tensile structures, and I know about tension roofs, and I know about skin buildings, the airport in Colorado, Denver. It was built 40 years ago. And so we know that it's not a technological problem, but what we're talking about here, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, is out of the box kit of parts approach to solving a systemic relationship with how we build community. And if you say you've done many of these on campuses, then I've missed a part of what we're talking about here, trying to bring online. Because what I understand we're trying to build online is a closed loop, self-contained village approach to address rapid deployment in a healthy, clean construct. And this is not anything against that. This is part of the mechanism that we're trying to put together. Okay. And I don't think it's really fair to say 1980 and then say we're going to use state-of-the-art technology and we're going to use these control systems that are really much more advanced than what we had in 1980. So that's where I'm saying there's a process here.
Michael, we're building today as well. So yes, it's a constant, you know, we're participating in the cutting edge of the technology of these kinds of building. You know, we've worked with companies like Bird Air and ChemFab. These are the people that built all the stadium roofs in the USA, fabric roofs, and the Denver airport, places like this, the Hajj terminal in Saudi Arabia. You know, it's all, it's a new area of technology, certainly fabric and materials technology. And I focus particularly on the transparent type of construction. And all of these companies from Bird Air owns Corning that do the glass fabrics and the coatings that go on them to create the transparency. All of these are technically done and capable and ready. You know, we can build tomorrow. We can build, anyone wants to build a project.
Yeah, I want to respond to that because the Algean stadium that just got completed, that's basically an inflatable structure in Las Vegas. We were at the table at the very beginning of that project when I started to talk to them about using BIM technology for operation. And when I heard Mufaddal talk about clean and closed loop, that was the conversation I had with the city officials in Las Vegas and the engineering firms that were putting the project together when I started to talk to them about the operational process. And what they told me was, we are going to follow industry standards. We're not going to set specifications for operation. And I was trying to tell them that the operation of the facility is where the cost is, because the cost takes place over the life of the structure, and the life of the structure is 90% of the cost. To Mufaddal's point, 1% of the cost of the structure is in the design, 10% is in the creation, and 90% of it is in the operation. So when I try to talk to them about design process, taking that model, then you're talking about what Mufaddal's talking about. You're talking about building clean, building a complete understanding of the structure. And the reason I'm being long-winded about this is they were resistant for the same reason I just outlined, checking the box. They want to say, Michael, if you're pushing the data model in front of the design process, then you're asking the design process to answer to the data. And we're not going to do that. We're just going to run it, and whatever energy it consumes, because that's industry standard. And you are right on all these companies can make the aluminum, they can make the extrusions, and the same conversation, to complete this, the same conversation took place with the landscape scheme for the George Lucas Museum when I asked them, who's looking at the operational cost of this landscape plan with transpiration of all these plants for the next 25 years and their maintenance? And this is all part of what Mufaddal's asking for, building a system that actually has sustainability. And they told me, oh, no one ever asked that question. All they were concerned about is the form making. And I talked directly to the MLA, Miller associations, who were the design architects, and they were the design architects on the sci-fi building for Cronky, the multi-billion-dollar project, because this is the mentality. Because we can, we will, not because we should. And what we should do is what your speech or your outline or your keynote this morning was identifying, and that is the learning process. That is where education has to get. And so that's why I'm here saying, to be genuine to what we want to do, let's not think we can just put a kit in a box and ship it and we're all good to go.
Well, one thing I do want to bring to the attention of everyone here is that we have a specific timeline, and that's for between now and the end of the year, as I understand it, to actually create a functioning unit. And one reason I'm so glad that Aubrey is here is that I understand he's already made the investment of time, energy, and focus on doing that. So Mufaddal, what I hope we can do is find a way to bridge this gap. So we'll have a demonstration of an actual product that we can then, in fact, look to provide homes for the homeless and homes for the needy worldwide.
My, sort of next step on this is this, that, okay, we are seeking, as a foreign direct investment company, we are seeking all kinds of approvals, etc., which is required for us to, build these campuses in, in our Wheel of Life Farm School, in the existing university campuses globally. And I think we would definitely love to work in a country whereby these approvals are, available to us. And it's my company policy, SAMS Global, that we want to do everything legally and ethically, and we want to support the government so that they can also function. I'm not looking at foreign direct investment, say that to save the taxes. I love to pay the highest amount of taxes to the government, so that the government can function. But at the same time, we actually acquire all the approvals, etc., without really wasting our time in going through that processes. So we want to make sure that we will actually start building these campuses in a country which actually gives us all these things as a package. You are here, like a Start New York program. If I go to New York, I would like to get that from Governor Cuomo, that yes, come to Sunny and Kani campuses and start building these things. All the approval and everything is there for you to come in, because that's the only way we can bring in the foreign direct investment and accomplish this project with agility. And since we are looking at, say, global sites and picture, and Lloyd has identified least population density areas of the world, I think approvals in those areas will be very easy to get. We can start building, our structures over there. So our project is very, very financially viable. Okay, we want to build this 25,000 home, and I would like to really give a payback, to the investors, which is a benchmark, payback. We will say, okay, you invest in this thing, and I will pay you back. 3.5 years is a standard payback in the corporate world today, in the P&G standard. So we will say, okay, we will actually do it before that. So these things which we are talking about is not really R&D and hypothetical situation. They are economically viable projects. We have done all the work to make sure that we have the capability of doing it. And what Michael is bringing in now into the picture is the component of agility. if a project takes, say, without agile engineering, if it takes 1 year to complete, we'll try to complete it in 5 months using the agile engineering, concepts also. So this is what we are interested in doing. We want to do everything legally and ethically. We want to support all the government, of the world, which are really facing all these financial, crises. So we want to bring in that foreign direct investment. We want to feed the people. We want to provide immunity boosting food. We want to provide healthcare, to the residents of our planet, so that we can collectively fight this COVID-19. And this is the right time to get all kinds of approvals with agility, because it's an emergency situation.
Well, thank you.
Mention something and people
Might
hear.
I say
can people
something?
hear me?
I had my hand up. Sorry, I had my hand up for the last hour. So.
Myself as well. I don't see you, Joan, but
ladies first, Joan.
Go ahead,
Please
Joan.
go right ahead.
Great, thank you. I had so many questions and some have been asked already, so that's a good thing. We're saving time. So I have questions for MM and I have questions for Michael. So if I could direct my first question to you, MM, you said it's okay to call you that, so I'm going to call you that. So if I'm going to understand this correctly, by the way, I don't disagree with a lot of things that have been said. Obviously, we all want to save the world and we want solutions that are environmentally friendly and cost effective and all of those things. So with that aside, what exactly is the pilot project that we're looking at? Because I hear food, I hear technology, I hear campuses, entrepreneurship, and they're all good. I'm not disagreeing with them. I think that they are all components of projects, but what is the strategy to get it done? Is there a strategic document that we can go to and agree on and saying, okay, this is how we start. These are the things that are needed. This is the gap that needs to be filled. This is also where exactly is the money coming from? Is that going to be transparent to this advisory group? You don't have to know all of your business, but as the world is these days, you have to make sure that monies are legal and all that kind of stuff, not just saying, but also proving. And then my question, follow-up question to Richard would be, what is the current outputs of these structures? I appreciate that there's a 40-year history. I could also say I have 35 years of community development, but community has changed, technology has changed. The world is in a different time and space. So, how current is some of these outputs? So my first question is to MM. Sorry, go ahead.
Answer to your question, Joan, is this, and the drive force behind, this project is that, we have dedicated 0.5% of the revenue of the gold cell and transforming it into a new product. They call it a blockchain gold, okay, which is actually a cost-effective way of owning the gold. So I have, regular gold buyers who are in the jewelry and gold business. And now we are providing these people's gold coin to everyone who has $2. They can own the gold coin. And we're offering them a 2% discount. And we will be giving to the EDU Foundation of Andrew 0.5% of all the gold sales revenue. That gives us a startup capital. Then I am making, as an organization, as a company, I am making 2-3% of that revenue as a profit. And I will put in my money also into this SAMS Climate Smart Fund, which is the crowd fund which we are integrating. And we are looking at probably New York as one place to do it. Toronto could be another place. Lloyd knows a lot of people who are into this crowdfunding situation in Toronto and Canada. London, I'm looking at it. We are setting up our company in London also, because that is a hub for gold trading. So we will be setting up, I'll put it is that they're integrating those funds also into this climate smart fund, and then providing them the sustainable income as well as a total quality Hajj service. So this is the way financially everything will be managed. Everything will be legally and ethically done according to the rules and regulations of each country. So, all those requirements are met. And wherever an NGO is required, and this EU Foundation is one platform, and I've dedicated 0.5% for this particular social entrepreneurship project for all the money which we will be globally making from sales of my gold. And then obviously once this structure is made, and this structure itself, the self-sustaining community becomes a profitable venture in itself. It's not just a sort of a social entrepreneurship project. It's a profitable business, and it makes more money than gold. Okay, so this is like a diamond or a platinum mine. We can call it these communities as not gold mines, but a diamond and a platinum mine, which is more valuable, in terms of economic viability, profitability, and everything else. And I have made a challenge to everybody in all common globally. Environmental, benefit which we will have. If he can give me 72% of his net profit, I'll call the money there, to make sure that electric cars are driven by everybody. So that is my financial model, and I'm really glad that Michael is raising all these kind of regulatory issues and everything. I 100% agree with Lloyd Helferty that anything and everything we do should be meeting all the standards. Okay, so all the existing standards should be met. I am a quality management standard expert of Procter & Gamble. I am elevating that standard out to climate smart standard, and will make sure that anything and everything we do should meet those standards. So we will be meeting financial standards. We will be meeting, regulatory standards of all kinds. To get a regulatory standards met, in a pharmaceutical company is the most difficult thing to do. Okay, so I'm that expert also. I've been, doing vendor development for P&G in the pharmaceutical industry. So we know how to really meet those standards. We understand those standards very well, and we will make sure that those standards are met, and we will give those standards free to all the climate smart, facilities which will be working with us. There won't be any cost to it. Because, we want them to, become climate smart. We want them to become cost effective. They will be partnering with us. They will be buying all their products and get more, ROI than what they expect. So this is the overall picture, which we have developed with the Energime team for the last, 5 years or so. And today, I think we have got a right team assembled now, not to talk about these things, but to really do it, which is your mission. Don't talk about it, let's do it so people can witness it and view it, and we can show them the videos. Yes, this is how Puerto Rican campus is working. This is how Toronto campus is working, and this is how the Dubai campus is working. This is what people in Pakistan, have done this thing, and it will be a competition. How fast and how effectively these structures gets developed in different, local communities. So that's an overall picture, and I think we are ready to move forward. And like I said, that make sure that everything we do is legal and ethical.
Joan, did that answer your question? And did you have a question for Michael?
I don't have a question. Well, I think I asked the question about the current.
Oh, that's Richard. Oh, that's Richard.
For
yes.
Michael. Sorry for Richard. But I wanted to have just a follow-up question to if that's okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
so your model sounds to me, I'm a community person, remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So my questions are always usually about community or money or administratively. You've gone to these campuses and engage the campuses. Do you have agreements with those campuses, and what were some of the hesitance, and do you have an actual agreement with those campuses, or have you just identified the campuses that could be?
Joan, to answer that question, what we have accomplished is this, that we have signed joint venture agreements with the private landowners. Okay, like in Pakistan, I have a joint venture agreement with the owner of 875 acres in KPK. But now we can go ahead and start building our campuses right from scratch over there. But in order for me to really develop the human asset required to accomplish that project, like I need to train 50,000 unemployed in Pakistan, so that what we can do is this, and what EU Foundation can do is this: adopt a university campus. So once we adopt the campus, obviously an agreement will be there, and we will move forward. And if everybody agrees that yes, the government agrees that okay, this is a public university, and you can go ahead and adopt that university, then we have all the approvals and everything, because the government has actually given us an institution which they couldn't manage themselves, financially and otherwise. So we say, okay, let's adopt it. I have a 200-acre site, in Karachi, which is next to, all the dairy farms of Karachi, which is the highest pollution creator, in the world today. And that site is a 200-acre site, Pakistan Machine Tool Factory, which is closed today. And so many engineers are unemployed. So that is a sick, institution which the government would love to give it to us. Okay, go ahead and start building your campus over there. Then all the, everything it becomes under a university umbrella. It becomes a university campus. Government approvals are there, and we adopt these universities rather than doing any joint venture agreements with them. Does that answer your question, Joan?
Well, yeah, it does. Thank you very much. I'll probably have more, but
no problem. I like difficult questions, because actually difficult questions allow us to really come up with a fail-proof, plan to move forward.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. Thank you, William.
Of course.
I just wanted to say, I'm hoping that going all the way back to earlier conversations when Michael was talking, I think probably we should be looking at private projects first. For kind of the, probably one of them there, and there's like 4 people. Really easy, we can put a proposal in front of them and likely get that approved pretty quick. It sounds like they want to have us approach them. And then it would be a private project, and just go ahead without needing to get too many other approvals, hopefully. And I think the private projects happening first, rather than, let's say, looking at, probably in Mufaddal's case, he may be able to approvals before that can happen, and it's probably going to take 6 months, or at least, who knows. But I think a private project first, create a partnership with a local university, let's say, or even a network of regional universities as a starting point, but do it on private land. Hopefully it's not in the city and there aren't bylaws to prevent us from doing stuff, because they're checking off all the boxes and they want us to do this and this and this. And if we don't have that certain style even of building, they're going to reject it just because it doesn't conform to they're seeing other buildings. We want to work with you. I think we should be approaching this from the perspective that if we're invited to do it, those should be the priority approaches, especially on lands. Let's say looking to create our own university campus or something like that.
Okay.
Take the path of least resistance.
Right, hear you, Lloyd. Okay, thank you so much.
I like Lloyd's comment. Currently, we have 1. and everything else. So I had a very lengthy discussion with this gentleman, and he said, Mufaddal, bring in the foreign direct investment. My site is available. It is in Islamabad, and the Prime Minister would love to, inaugurate the site and invite all the leaders to witness it. So that is, I agree with Lloyd that that is the fastest way of moving forward. Land, all the approvals and everything is United Arab Emirates, because the plan for Dubai, Expo 2020 got stalled because of the COVID-19, and Sheikh Mohammed is interested in definitely for direct investment. To build that climate smart town exactly, because they are building the whole town out there to do this expo in 20. SAMS.
To comment on the process, okay, because we are ready, and I love what you're saying, we have to get people, groups of people, communities. We have to get communities even step change, right? That's, of course, Michael's got to handle all of that, and that's the great facilitating the agile, the presentation, the communication, and reaching the decision makers with data, that has been analyzed, that makes sense, that's convincing, not just convincing, it's compelling, which is again, M&M is saying, we're going to make money, we're going to make more money than anybody else. And at this point, we have to, deploy our resources in a very effective way, economically effective, as well as socially and environmentally. So how do you make the step change? That comes down to what it is. And what it is, it takes decades. It takes decades of champions for the new process to be implemented. Or again, as the key word, adopted. Adopted, that's all. And why do people adopt something? Oftentimes because they're in a corner. They don't have any choice by that point. They have to make a change. So if it's starvation or try something new, you try, you say, well, what's working failed? And you say, okay, we'll try something new. The fortunate case is that all of us have been working for decades to have exactly the right stuff, and it's ready. It's actually ready. We're not beginning to think about this. We have been thinking about it for decades. We have been doing it for decades, right? So now we're able to come forward as a team and we say, well, you need a different financial to what you're doing. So M&M, you have it, you're working it. And I can see what you're doing and understand, I'm getting used to it, it takes a little time. We need community. Joan, you're involved in community. How do communities operate and so on and so on. Colonel, you're in the hotspot of crisis. You have to reply and respond to crisis ahead of other communities who are not really in crisis. You could say LA is in crisis in some ways. Yeah, almost every American city is in crisis. But compare that to Africa, where in the Sahel, people are starving. No, it's not that bad, right? We have all of us our own situation. So in the midst of this confusion and this chaos, even political chaos, which we see craziness around the world, well, we have to be effective, right? Because we know what's coming, and we're caring about the people. We're caring about communities. We care if people eat, if they have food, if their children are going to have food, or our own families. Because this can
Puerto Rico's political crisis and situation is just what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it'll affect our own home and our own families, like COVID, right? Your brother, your mother, everyone, or people around you can get hit. So the same thing happens with the kind of famine collapse, food system collapse, if it happens, when it happens. What we need to do is take the calm before the storm, which is now, right? before we get overwhelmed, and we implement the step change. So we go to the people who are most agile, and we talk with them with agile communication and analysis that Michael can present. We have a financial system, we have a community system. We are aware of all of the implications of transparency and being honest in a world which is full of people wondering, is it real, is it fake? Just one more complete the idea, okay, Andrew, is the technology to do this has fundamental changes. So you have people like myself that are bringing forward, and we're not just starting, we know what we can do, just like you guys know what you can do. I know what I can do with buildings, and I know that all the materials, and I've been practicing it for years. So thank God for that, right? That now we can just implement it, and it won't be a discovery process. No, I did that 30 years ago, the discovery, you know, and worked on it in different cultures and different places in the world. So yeah, now what we need is experimental demonstration of the innovation. Everyone's going to call it experimental. They don't care I've been working on it for 40 years. They've never seen it before. They're going to call it an experiment.
Yes,
So,
I'm
and
the
what Lloyd
perfect
says,
example.
you have to.
I was a doubting Thomas. You know what I
Lloyd
mean?
said,
I was
Lloyd
a
said the right
doubting
thing
Thomas,
too.
even me.
Yeah,
But now I'm not.
yeah. Aubrey, we will do this, Lloyd said, privately at first. Yes, because experiments are always first movers. Step change comes from people who take the chance, and they take the chance with their own money. You know, they'll actually do it for themselves, like Aubrey's doing. And I'm sure, Colonel, you will do with friends and family, because you can put this up and you put it up as is for yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
Benefit,
so that's a first step.
If it's something good, right? You want to use it yourself, right? And then you can tell others, you know, I've tasted, right?
Before we try to correct other people and tell them what to do, why don't we do it first?
Yeah.
So just a
that
house.
applies to all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I turn it back to you.
We're 90 minutes. We're 90 minutes into our 72 minutes. Now I have a hard stop in 30 minutes, but we can continue. But if I may, I'd like to allow those people who have not introduced themselves to do so now. So if you have not spoken, please unmute and introduce yourself. Just a minute or so to your introduction. And there are comments in the chat too. So KPI, I believe you got some comments. KPI.
Hello. I don't know if it's good afternoon or good evening.
Good day. Always, it's a good day.
It appears that we're several different places. My name is Carla Napper. I do represent a nonprofit organization founded in the state of Washington called Coin the Pathway Initiative. And our mission is to change the trajectory of wealth attainment for American descendants of slaves and the underserved everywhere. We are mobilizing to prepare ourselves for this technology. We are also trying to partner with historically Black colleges and universities. We have met with one of the universities, Alabama A&M, and they are interested. The leader of the, I believe it's economic development for the university, believes that she can pull all of the historically Black colleges and universities to the table to discuss a way forward for a partnership with SolaRoof. So we're excited, in addition to the fact that I have a private property in Columbus, Ohio, that we want to use as a urban proof of concept to show that we can actually do, produce and fishery type setups in urban areas. We are going through the process that Lloyd talked about with the city. It is a lengthy and complex process, but we are documenting it, and we are moving forward and very close. So it's a pleasure to be listening in and listening to all of your perspectives and learning about, how you all plan on approaching it in your various areas. And so thank you, Andrew, for allowing me to introduce myself.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to now allow Andre to unmute himself. However, first I want to interject. Carla, we're here in Los Angeles. We actually have the only historically Black college university west of the Mississippi, Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science. And Michael Rendler and I and others are working closely with them to deliver local solutions. But I believe we have to connect them with the community college network as well. We have a campus here called the Southwest College. So we hope to find ways, Carla, we can leverage your experience with what we're doing here. So Andre, could you please introduce yourself? Then Mufaddal, I'll turn it back to you.
Hi, I'm Andre and I'm working with Drawdown Markham with Lloyd. And yes, I joined and I'm interested in how the solution is because I had my own idea of how a homeless shelter should be. And I wanted to make it scalable. So I want to make sure that the solution is scalable in a lot of ways. So it's also adaptive for various people around the world. So I just want to get involved and, being introduced to research technology, I think it's amazing. So I just want to understand, are we focusing on technology as the solution or it's a part of the solution?
Andre, repeat the last question. Your phone broke up. Repeat that last question, please.
I think you said
about,
is it part
about is your solution like the main solution, Richard, or is it a part of the solution which we're trying to integrate, or we're focusing on it as the main thing?
I like to think of it as a catalyst. I like to think of it as part of the whole solution, and that's the best way to go. Always, we need everyone.
I'd like to follow up on what Richard says, because that's absolutely the key thing, is that Richard's solution is the centerpiece. It's the catalyst. I think he used the right word. But I've been trying to put forward is actually through my conversations with whether it's with Andrew or with yourself, Andre, or with Mufaddal, it's the education, it's the understanding, it's the training, it's the people's understanding of how to do this on their own. So that education part that's why we want to turn these buildings into classrooms. That's why we want to put these on universities or even high schools or public schools. We want them out, visible, and in the community, so that the kids especially can learn how to do this and do it on their own, so that we don't have to in the future hopefully intervene anymore, and it's not a constant battle, because this is just going to be the way of life of the future. Right. As I actually talked to Joan about this before, with her CSV Gardens. I said we need to come to a point where just like somebody can buy a house, go to the bank and get a mortgage and just purchase a house. We need to be able to walk into a bank and say, I'm going to build a solar roof. Can you give me the financing? And the banker will go, sure, we can check those boxes. It has to be that easy at some point. So that we have to look into the future, see where we want to be, and aim for that.
Well, it may be.
So the idea is that SolaRoof is this catalyst to get the integrated projects together for the purposes of the education.
Right. So Mufaddal, I think that's really why I'm so excited to be working with you, because all of these differing cycles are working together. But if you are committed to documenting between now and the end of the year the fact that we can come out of this with a home for the homeless, or a home for the needy, or a home for a solution as a model. The idea is that we can replicate this globally. We did have one further person to join us, Mufaddal. She's from South Africa, and she deals with women and children, particularly in the rural settings. So Mufaddal, if you could take just a moment to address how this might apply to rural settings. Then Tshepi, perhaps you could introduce yourself. And we have about 20 minutes left.
One of the question I have for everyone, Richard specifically. There are 472 dump sites in Pakistan. Okay, all the municipal solid waste are dumped, poorly collected waste. Still we find waste on the streets. But these are dumped on these dump sites, and they are the biggest polluter of all kinds. And all the homeless children and mothers of Pakistan can be found on these dump sites. So we don't have to really search for them. They are already there, searching for food and waste material so they can sell it and really try to feed themselves for a day. So that is those are the sites which are available. And government has to pay, or a budget is there to really get rid of the waste. So we can provide this service to the government that yes, we will get rid of the waste for you and we will transform that waste into these beautiful communities. And what Dr. Olivier and Ken Telford can do is they actually have a plan to convert all the waste into value and into these Wheel of Life Farm School communities. So I would like to get maybe a 1 minute comment from Richard that I definitely would like to integrate Richard's technology into this, building these communities for these homeless on a dump site. And to answer the other question, my aim is that two kinds of people in the world are facing problems. One are farmers, okay, and the other people in Africa are gold miners. Poorest people, very, very interested in all fashions, okay. So we want to really make sure that we build these Wheel of Life farm schools in those farms, okay? So that the rural children of the farmers and all of those can acquire this best quality education, and then they become the future entrepreneurs to lead those communities in the urban life. But we enable the farmers. And like Richard said, that we don't need vertical integration over there, with vast amount of land is available on the farms, which is not being properly used.
Okay, well, yes, everything you said, as Andrew says, yes, and yes. We need every involved. We need the high end, we need the low end, we need all sides, we need the spectrum, right? And that's how things can really succeed for everyone. One of my heroes is Buckminster Fuller, and of course that's domes. The guy created domes. And his mantra was, the universal success of all of humanity. We don't aim for anything less than that.
Are you guys, Richard, are you familiar with we're trying to acquire 1.7 acre, I think it's a 163 acre site in a dairy farm in Texas, and we wanted to integrate monolithic dome technology into that campus. So we started off like that, and always there was a problem of funds, okay? So we have been trying to, raise that kind of funds in different way. And now we have the funds available, and, we have the best technologies also available, which are better than monolithic domes. So I would never like to, leave, people who started working with me, like, and, all the other people who are very fond of, dome technologies, which is also a disaster technology. And one of the gentlemen who actually gave me a plan, used that knowledge and information, which I provided him, and that is Eric, who is not happy with me, because we rejected his proposal of building these domes from concrete. And I simply told him that I'm ready to work with you if you can, really make it from waste, And he just left, He says,
Has additional comment.
My internet is intermittent, so please excuse me. But again, Ambassador Tshepi Motloung, if you could briefly introduce yourself and the circumstances that you're dealing with in South Africa, particularly to the women in rural communities that you're working in. Tshepi?
Yes, thank you very much, Ambassador, and good evening, everyone. Development in the rural, as we work in the peri-urban or urban, but also, and yet I will quite a few are willing to have women. Talking about land. So actually try and collaborate with them, talking about collaborate with them to the space where housing, low income housing, social development, and and also creating businesses that are those homes, because they must.
You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. That's exactly what we've been trying to do with Ambassador, with these organizations, and with all the mobilization. We are definitely going to be registering what we are doing, even under education, digitalization of our schools and in the rural, and safety and security. There is some developments that are going on there as well. So there are ways and means of doing how we are moving, and also where there's still gaps. And this is why we are here to learn from each other and be able to bring those solutions. I'll be following with Ambassador Andrew will be is very quite instrumental. So Mr. Mirza, allow me to say he will put me up to speed as to what to do, how to get on the roll. Thank you very much, sir.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mufaddal. Again, there is an incentive in South Africa for corporations with foreign direct investment to work with the women. And so she's also working with the South Africa women in construction. I'm hoping we can find a way to fast track the relationship you have in South Africa already.
Positively.
That is just so great. Be careful. I would like you to warn you. When I start hearing such things, we move on we call it a bullet train.
Exactly.
And you know that I wake him up at 4 a.m., 3 a.m. because of that. Again, I miss the timing. And when I wake up and I have an idea and I already want to pull him, I wake him up and I don't know whether he's sleeping, whether it's 2 a.m. I'm still waking that. So when you mentioned that Uganda, by the way, I'm also an organization, Ambassador Andrew knows, is IDOR and Network. So I'm the vice president, have just been elevated yesterday of the whole SADC. So we are connected into 10 countries in Africa, and that's what we work on as well, to bring the development, and we work through kingdoms, because that's exactly the people where most and majority of people are, and where land is accessible without the red tapes, having to go through quite a lot of hassles. But we are still respecting the documents, and we work with them. So they
also add to that, here in Puerto Rico, we have a strong women entrepreneurship desire. women are very involved in business, small business, agricultural development, all Puerto Rico. They are a force to be reckoned with.
Yes, I think from yesterday, I remember that we briefly met Mr. Cruz Diaz, and also there is something that because agriculture is our lifestyle here. We never even knew that actually you can make business out of. So we've just woken up seeing that actually there is now entrepreneurship around it, or even as a business mechanism, which also we are working on the cooperate. And then when it's, we have Moria, we have the aloe, we have all our indigenous plants, which we turn them to juice, we turn them into products that can be used, and they are made by women. Also, we start the project that it's in the foundational stages right now, and I have access as well to Cosmetics Council, but it be the product income and that are enabling us to export to places like yourselves. And Puerto Rico, yes, now that we can travel, I'm sure I'll be getting an invitation and travel to Puerto Rico.
Well, we're approaching 10 minutes left, Mufaddal, so I'll leave it to you to determine how we go from here.
So I think we will formalize our, EFU situation so that 0.5% revenue starts pouring in. Okay, we have the funds available. The other good news is, and I consider that as a good news, that I was thinking about, really not selling the gold to the big players, like Bill Gates and, all the billionaires who really, are my customers. Companies, which is a US-based company, Batlokoa Inc. He signed a 5% contract for a 21 metric ton transaction of a gold lying in Mitsubishi, Japan. So now the other, what I'm thinking is that instead of selling it to them, I can provide this gold to everyone at 2% discount. And that gives us 0.5% to EDU Foundation and at least 3% more, available for us to, fund all these with you, Andrew. So we formalize everything, use, the refinery like metal ore, which is available in Los Angeles. So all the gold which I'm getting from ECOWAS, I have a company there, and today I shared my gemologist's birthday is there today. So good luck and easily get ECOWAS trees, take them into Los Angeles, refine them, metal ore refinery in Los Angeles, and that gold will be available for us, to provide to everyone.
Okay, yes, and yes.
So I think financially there is no issue because we can always optimize and
Excellent, fantastic. I would ask for housekeeping purposes if someone could copy the text chat. Every time I leave, I'm unable to copy the text, and I will make this video available to us in audio for podcasts. But for follow-up, I would certainly like to ask that each of you, if you could, make sure you grab the content in the chat. So Mufaddal, I'll follow up with you later today about specifics on how we can move forward.
Wonderful.
And I believe we're scheduled for next week this time as well, because the idea is every week to have these meetings. So we're scheduled for next week at 9 o'clock as well.
The progress, yeah, exactly. And we want to make it and limit this to, our scheduled 1 hour, situation so that comfortably everybody can get the updates from us. We don't have to really share all the backgrounds anymore. We'll simply say updates, how many countries they are moving forward with, and what each country is doing in terms of, setting up these Wheel of Life farm school campuses over there.
I'll work with Heidi, I'll work with Richard, I'll work with our team here
Yes, please.
through the CSF development group. And
Toronto and Saskatchewan is your area. Site in Toronto, and you know our community exists in Toronto, they all participate in the project.
Yeah, but I think for now, sort of GTA area, let's hold versus that one first, because it's probably more to go. And that could present to, for instance, your
Yeah, it can be the
Saskatchewan and Pakistan is ready. I think Puerto Rico probably will identify South America is covered. Pakistan will cover the part and Saskatchewan will cover North part. I think
Okay, well, I'm very comfortable. Thank you, everyone, for participating. I would like to, for us in the future, to take advantage of technology is only great when it works. Go ahead, Lloyd.
I didn't hear anything, but that just happened.
I just figured out. I was just saying that thanks everyone for coming. I'll provide you with a copy of the video, and for those able to, please copy the chat. I'm unable to capture the chat today. So with that, Mufaddal, unless there are any closing thoughts.
Agreements with the farmers and with the university campuses, and as you identify sites, you know, assign the team of engineers to move forward and, you know, start executing the projects. 50,000 engineers available in Pakistan, and you know, we will get a lot more to work on the project.
Okay, I guess we're all done.
Yeah, I'm going to end up sharing my screen with the fact that what we're talking about, this is not just hunger, but also poverty and health and well-being. So the intent here is to leverage our ongoing work to what we call globalized and sustainable development goals, and use this as a model that can be replicated and broadcast around the world. So thank you everyone for attending. I certainly appreciate it. And this session is about to end.